Key tells us about handling complaints.
Well, let me share with you what we do in the universities. I'll give you a rough outline, but you don't follow it in detail. What you do is you modify it for your purpose. When somebody comes in to complain, and you get lots of complainers, the first thing we suggest you do is to mirror them. If they do this, you also do this. They say, hey, I'm looking into a mirror. But don't do it for too long or they'll punch you out. And after you have made them feel comfortable, then you relax, and then you do three things. You state that you are unhappy because of this, and then the consequences are because of this, objectively. So the guy said, well, this fellow is listening to me. And then do the third thing which people don't do. And I see you're upset. Always do not be afraid of talking about people's emotions. Emotions are the dynamo of all activity. So always go for the emotions. And then after you have done that, you take 2 steps backwards. You take 2 grenades, pull the pins and throw at them. The first grenade is, I empathize with you. If I were in your shoes, I will feel as stoked and as upset as you are. Now, this softens them up. When the guy is complaining, never interrupt him. It explodes. Never interrupt him. Let him finish complaining. And then when he has lost his steam, you open your eyes wide and say, is there something else? But he has shot his way. Or else, can you repeat the last point you said? And then the second hand grenade is, I apologize that you're upset. I don't apologize for my products and services because you can get sued. I apologize that you're upset. And when you have done that, you can grab him from the other end of the table to your end of the table, and the two of you use 2 brains to solve the problem. Solve the problem. Negotiate. Solve the problem. Negotiate. That's what we don't do. We always jump to a concussion. Another important thing you do when you are handling customers is learn to give a piece of yourself. Now, I flew from Minneapolis to Seattle to give a speech. And the airline lost my luggage. So I wore the dirty clothes I wore on the plane, and my classmates knew it, so they collected money and bought me a shirt. Boy, I was upset. I went to the woman who was in charge of lost luggage, and I said to her, do you know how you have humiliated me? Blah, 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 blah. And when I paused for a reply, she said, sir, there are only 2 human beings in this whole world who care passionately about your lost luggage, and one of them is losing interest rapidly. Customer service is not something you put in a manual and ask people to read. Customer service has got to do with attitudes, non-verbal communication. It has everything to do with giving a piece of yourself. You know what the airlines do? They ask themselves, what do people hate about airlines? They hate coming to the airport. So they send a car to pick you up. And then what happens when you get to the airport? They hate getting lost. I was at Narita Airport. It was summer, and the crowd was so huge. But there was a stewardess there. Says, welcome, Key, follow me. And they took me to a room where I could read magazines that were a bit more recent than my dentist. And then I went on board the plane, and then the airline screwed up. It was in the middle of summer, and there was no air conditioning. So I was in my shirt sleeves looking for a piece of paper. I wanted to write to the president of the airline, and the stewardess came, and she was very well trained. She was dressed in full uniform. She said, I see you are hot. I said, you betcha. He said, care for some ice water? I said, thank you. She said, if you are hot in your shirt sleeves, can you imagine how I feel in my full uniform? For the rest of the flight, I was worried about her. So, if you are well trained and you are sincere and you give a piece of yourself, you can make guys whom you offend turn around and say thank you to you and appreciate you. And that's a secret. Customer service doesn't mean cut price. It means make your customers make a detour and charge them toll for the detour, like the Minister for Transport. Now, that was this Aussie. He went to America, and when he arrived, he said to the concierge, look, I only have $100 bills and the taxi is $30. He says, no worries, you are living here. I'll pay him first and then we put it on your bill. Clever man. By the way, Mr. Brown, follow me. He says, how do you know my name is Mr. Brown? It's all over your bags. He said, oh, I forgot. When he went to the counter, the woman says, welcome, Mr. Brown. He says, how do you know my name is Mr. Brown? This is the guy who saw your name on your bags. He used his mobile and told me. Then the guy says, can I carry your bags? He says, no, you don't. You want to carry my heavy bags? You come to the airport where I have to lug them around. Down here, I'm not going to give you a tip. He says, in this hotel, we don't accept tipping. In that case, you can carry my bags. And on the way up the elevator, the guy says, do you know, we've got 95% occupancy. We love our customers. We have 95% occupancy. He says, how do you know that? He says, our management gave us a 1-week course in accounting, and we can read the balance sheets, and they keep us informed. And then he said, you know, when you were talking to the receptionist, I heard that you have a meeting in 5 minutes. Why don't you go and wash up while I hang up your coat? Boy, he says, boy, this is good service. So he came down for dinner that night. And, you know, Australians, they like to eat their meat very well done. In America, a steak is either rare or ruined. And they gave him what they considered well done, but what he considered to be not well done. He called the waitress. He said, see, this steak, there's blood in it. If I give it encouragement, it'll moo. So the lady made into charcoal, and he enjoyed his food. And then she brought us menu. Our desserts are from $8 to $16. Pick any one, it's free, because we did not cook your steak the way you liked it. And the guy was so grateful, he thanked her. And then on his way home, the guy who was driving the van said, sir, did our people smile at you? He said, yes. Did they tell you we got 95% occupancy? They said, yes. Did they call you by name? He said, wait a minute, who the hell are you? He says, I'm the manager. Only managers are allowed to drive vans. Because on the way to the airport, you tell us the truth. Are you functional? Do you do things that count?